Left my family, instantly regretted it. The weight in my chest had been building for months, maybe years. A pressure cooker of unspoken resentments, stifled dreams, and the slow, agonizing realization that I was living a life that wasn't truly mine. It wasn't Sarah's fault, not entirely. She was a good woman, a wonderful mother. But somewhere along the line, the vibrant, adventurous girl I'd fallen in love with had morphed into someone practical, someone predictable, someone who saw my ambitions as childish fantasies. David, my college roommate, hadn't helped. He'd come to visit last month, radiating success and a breezy, unattached freedom. He talked about his travels, his work on cutting-edge projects, his dates with beautiful, intelligent women. Compared to his life, mine felt like a faded photograph, so I did it. I packed a bag, wrote a note, a pathetic, rambling apology, and walked out the door, just like that. I left my family, my house, my life behind. The instant the door clicked shut, the regret hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't the dramatic movie scene kind of regret. It was a hollow, nauseating dread that settled deep in my gut. I stood on the porch for a long time, the cool night air biting at my skin, half expecting Sarah to come running out, begging me to stay. But the house remained silent, a dark, imposing silhouette against the starless sky. I got in my car, a 5-year-old Honda I hadn't even bothered to clean, and drove. I didn't have a destination, just a desperate need to put as much distance as possible between myself and that house, that life. The highway stretched out before me, an endless ribbon of asphalt under the harsh glare of the headlights. I stopped at a gas station a few hours later, filled the tank, and bought a stale donut and a lukewarm coffee. The fluorescent lights hummed, and the cashier, a bored-looking teenager, barely glanced at me. I felt invisible, adrift. As I pulled back onto the highway, I saw her. She was standing on the shoulder of the road, bathed in the sickly yellow glow of a street lamp. She was tall and slender, with long, dark hair that billowed in the wind. She wore a long, flowing dress the color of moonlight. I almost swerved. My heart pounded in my chest. Who stands on the side of the highway at this hour? I told myself it was just the fatigue, the stress. I hadn't slept properly in weeks. I kept driving, trying to shake off the image of her standing there alone in the darkness. But she was there again at the next exit. This time she was closer, standing just at the edge of the on-ramp. Her face was obscured by the shadows, but I could feel her eyes on me. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. This was getting ridiculous. It had to be my imagination. I checked into a cheap motel off the highway, a place with peeling paint and a musty smell. The bed sagged in the middle and the TV only got a few channels. I tried to sleep, but my mind raced. I kept seeing her, that woman on the side of the road. I finally drifted off, but my sleep was fitful, filled with nightmares. I dreamt I was back in the house, but it was different, distorted. The walls were closing in, the furniture rotting. Sarah and the kids were there, but their faces were blurred, their voices echoing. And then, she was there too, the woman from the highway, standing in the corner of the room, her eyes burning into me. I woke up in a cold sweat, the image of her face seared into my mind. I spent the next few days drifting, driving aimlessly. I ate in diners, slept in motels, and tried to outrun the guilt, the regret, the woman. She kept appearing. Sometimes I'd see her in the rearview mirror, standing on the side of the road, watching me. Other times, she'd be in the reflection of a store window, a fleeting glimpse of her face among the mannequins and the advertisements. And once I swore I saw her sitting in the back of my car when I glanced in the rearview mirror. I started to question my sanity. Was I hallucinating? Was this some kind of elaborate breakdown, or was something else going on? I called David. I needed to talk to someone who knew me, someone who could tell me I wasn't crazy. Liam, what's up? Man, he answered, his voice sounding distant and tinny. I told him everything about leaving Sarah and the kids, about the regret, about the woman. He listened patiently, then sighed. Look, Liam, I get it, you're stressed. You made a mistake. Go home, talk to Sarah, it's not too late. But the woman, David, I keep seeing her, I don't know what's happening. Liam, you're tired, you're probably just projecting. Get some rest, go home, and everything will be okay. His words were meant to be reassuring, but they only made me feel more alone. He didn't believe me. Nobody would. I started seeing Dr. Vance. Sarah had insisted well before I left. So, Liam, tell me what's been happening, she said, her voice calm and professional. I told her about the woman, about the guilt, about the nightmares. She listened intently, nodding occasionally. And you believe this woman is real? I don't know what to believe anymore, I said, running a hand through my hair. Sometimes I think I'm losing my mind. It sounds like you're experiencing a significant amount of stress and anxiety, Liam. Leaving your family is a major life change, and it's understandable that you're feeling overwhelmed. She prescribed me some medication, told me to practice relaxation techniques, and scheduled another appointment for the following week. The medication didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. The dreams became more vivid, more terrifying. The woman appeared more frequently, her face clearer, her eyes more intense. I started to notice a pattern. She always appeared near water, a lake, a river, the ocean, and she was always watching me, waiting. one night. I was driving along a deserted coastal highway when I saw her standing on a cliff overlooking the ocean. The waves crashed against the rocks below and the wind howled in my ears. She was silhouetted against the moonlit sky, her arms outstretched as if beckoning me to join her. I stopped the car and got out. My legs felt like lead. I walked towards her, drawn by an invisible force. As I got closer, I could see her face. It was beautiful, ethereal, but there was something unsettling about her eyes, a cold, empty void. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She didn't answer. She just smiled, a slow, seductive smile that sent shivers down my spine. "What do you want?" She raised her hand and pointed towards the ocean. "Come with me," she said, her voice soft and melodic. "I can show you true freedom." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to turn and run, get back in my car and drive as far away as possible. But another part of me, a dark, twisted part, was drawn to her, to the promise of escape. I took a step closer to the edge of the cliff. The wind whipped at my clothes and the waves roared below. I could feel the pull, the temptation. Then I saw them. In the distance, standing on the beach below, were Sarah and the kids. Ethan was pointing up at me, his face etched with worry. Chloe was clinging to Sarah's leg, her eyes wide with fear. The sight of them snapped me out of the trance. I staggered back from the edge of the cliff, my heart pounding in my chest. The woman was gone. I ran back to my car and drove away, tears streaming down my face. I knew then that I had to go back. I had to try to fix things, to make amends. It wouldn't be easy, but I had to try. I drove straight to Sarah's house. It was late, but I didn't care. I parked the car and walked up to the front door, my hand trembling as I raised it to knock. The door opened and Sarah stood there, her face pale and drawn. She looked tired, older than her years. "Liam," she said, her voice flat. "Sarah, I'm so sorry," I stammered. "I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. I want to come home." She looked at me for a long time, her eyes searching my face. Then she stepped aside and let me in. The house felt different, colder somehow. The air was thick with unspoken words, with a lingering sense of unease. Ethan and Chloe were asleep in their beds. I went into their rooms and stood there, watching them, feeling a wave of guilt wash over me. How could I have abandoned them? How could I have been so selfish? I spent the next few weeks trying to rebuild my life, to earn back Sarah's trust, to reconnect with my children. It was hard work. There were days when I felt like giving up, when the weight of my guilt was too much to bear. Sarah was wary, distant. She agreed to let me stay, but she made it clear that things would never be the same. The spark, the intimacy, was gone. We were living in the same house, but we were like strangers. The kids were confused, hurt. Ethan was withdrawn, resentful. Chloe was clingy, constantly asking me if I was going to leave again. I tried to be patient, to be understanding. I knew I deserved their anger, their mistrust. I had broken their hearts, and it would take time to heal. But the woman was still there. I didn't see her as often as before, but she was always lurking in the shadows, a constant reminder of my folly. I'd catch a glimpse of her in a reflection, hear her voice in the wind, feel her presence in the darkness. And then things started to get really strange. Objects in the house would move on their own. Doors would open and close by themselves. I'd hear whispers in the middle of the night, voices calling my name. Chloe started having nightmares again. She'd wake up screaming, claiming that there was a monster in her room, a woman with long, dark hair. One day I was working in my home office when I heard a noise downstairs. I went to investigate and found the front door wide open. There was no one there, but I felt a chill in the air, a sense of dread. I checked the security cameras. The footage showed the door slowly opening on its own. There was no wind, no one visible outside. Just the door swinging open as if beckoned by an invisible hand. I told Sarah what was happening, but she didn't believe me. She thought I was losing my mind, that the stress was getting to me. "Liam, you need to get some help," she said, her voice laced with concern. "This isn't healthy." I knew she was right, but I didn't know what to do. I was trapped in a nightmare and I couldn't escape. I started researching the history of the house. I went to the local library, searched online, talked to the elderly neighbors. That's when I met Mr. Abernathy. He lived next door, a wizened old man with a twinkle in his eye and a knowing smile. "You live in the old Hawthorne place, don't you?" he asked, leaning on his cane. "Yes," I said. "Do you know anything about it?" He chuckled. "That house has a story, young man, a dark story." He told me about the Hawthorne family who had built the house in the late 1800s. They were a wealthy, prominent family, but they were plagued by tragedy. The wife, Eliza, had died young under mysterious circumstances. Some said she had taken her own life, driven mad by grief and loneliness. "They say she still haunts the house, Mr. Abernathy said, his voice barely a whisper, looking for someone to join her. He told me that Eliza Hawthorne had been obsessed with the ocean, with the idea of escaping her unhappy life. She would often stand on the cliffs overlooking the water, gazing out at the horizon, dreaming of freedom. She was a beautiful woman, Mr. Abernathy said, but she was also very sad. They say she lured sailors to their deaths, promising them love and happiness, only to drag them down to the depths of the sea. I felt a chill run down my spine. The woman I had been seeing. The woman on the highway, the woman in my house. It was Eliza Hawthorne. I went back to the house, feeling a sense of dread. I knew then that I had to protect my family, to protect them from Eliza's influence. I started sleeping with a baseball bat next to my bed. I installed extra locks on the doors and windows. I kept a close watch on Ethan and Chloe, making sure they were never alone. But it wasn't enough. One night, I woke up to find Chloe missing from her bed. I searched the house frantically, calling her name, my heart pounding in my chest. I found her in the backyard, standing by the old oak tree that stood at the edge of the property. She was staring out at the woods, her eyes wide and vacant. The woman was there too, standing beside her, whispering in her ear. I ran towards them, shouting Chloe's name. The woman turned to me, her eyes burning with anger. "She's coming with me," she said, her voice cold and menacing. "She deserves a better life than you can give her." I grabbed Chloe and pulled her away from the woman. "Get away from her," I shouted. The woman lunged at me, her fingers outstretched. I swung the baseball bat, hitting her with all my might. She screamed and fell to the ground, dissolving into a cloud of mist. Chloe started crying, clinging to me tightly. "Daddy, I'm scared," she sobbed. I held her close, my heart aching with fear. I knew that Eliza Hawthorne wouldn't give up easily. She would keep coming back, trying to take my family away from me. I decided to move. I couldn't stay in that house any longer. It was too dangerous. Sarah agreed reluctantly. She knew that something was wrong, even if she didn't fully understand what was happening. We packed our bags and left the house, leaving behind everything we owned. We didn't know where we were going, but we knew we had to get away to escape Eliza's grasp. We drove for hours, until we reached a small town in the middle of nowhere. We checked into a rundown motel on the outskirts of town, a place with stained carpets and flickering lights. I thought we were safe, but I was wrong. That night, I woke up to find Sarah missing from the bed. I searched the motel room frantically, calling her name, my heart pounding in my chest. I found her standing outside by the swimming pool. She was staring into the water, her eyes wide and vacant. The woman was there too, standing beside her, whispering in her ear. "Sarah, what are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling. She turned to me, her eyes cold and empty. "I'm going with her," she said. "She can give me the life I deserve." I knew then that I had lost her. Eliza Hawthorne had finally won. I stood there helpless as Sarah walked into the pool, her body sinking beneath the surface. I didn't try to save her. I couldn't. I was too afraid. I turned and ran, leaving her behind. Leaving my children behind, leaving everything behind. I am still running. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm running from, but I know that I can never stop. Eliza Hawthorne is still out there waiting for me, and one day she will catch me.